Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
How are you doing?
I'm well. I don't know if you probably won't remember, but I did interview you the last time you were in Johannesburg, about 2 years ago, I think. Well, you may have
Yeah.
been here since, but I do remember speaking to you.
Oh,
Right, let's go
no.
straight ahead. Let's get straight into it. I suppose my first question is going back to 1970 and looking at your journey with Virgin and everything you have accomplished. Did you ever think you would be so wildly successful and that you'd try so many things?
No, as a kid, I always loved trying new things, and I had a mother who, pushed us into trying new things, and so I love learning, I also have great difficulty saying no. So I've ended up saying yes to an awful lot of things over the years, and don't regret a minute of it. It's been an absolute blast, and that I've learned an awful lot over the last 50 years of running things.
So we're just over a year into this global pandemic that has upended the way we do things and how the world economy functions. Yours is a global brand. You've got interests in many places around the world. How hard have you been hit by COVID-19?
I suspect of every biggish company around the world that the Virgin Group have been hit the hardest, because we're in the airline business, in the health club business, in the hotel business, we went into the cruise business the same week that COVID reared its ugly head. And but having said that, our wonderful team have survived. They've been inventive. Our space companies have actually come to the rescue of the rest of the Virgin Group, which I never thought 20 years ago that would happen. And I'm sure that we'll come out the stronger for it. But we're just one of pretty well every business listening to this program have had similar problems. I mean, it's been the toughest 12 months of my life. It's been the toughest 12 months, I suspect, of many people who are in young business people, bigger business people's lives, and I hope that in our lifetimes, or in people's lifetimes who are listening to this, that they never have to deal with something quite as extreme as this again. And then obviously there's the loss of life, which has been extreme. I lost my mother a week or two ago from COVID, and as have again many people who are listening to this program.
I'm really sorry to hear about. I'm sorry to hear your loss of your mom. But also, at a time like this, people often will look to the leader at the top for guidance, for a sense of optimism, anything. What's your message been to your global organization?
I mean, if I take Africa as an example, and we've got quite a few companies in Africa. A year ago, when this started, Jean Orwang, who runs our wonderful foundation, rang me up and said, "Look, we've got to pull together a team of people to make sure that Africa and other continents don't get left out, because there's a terrible danger that all the vaccines will go to America, to Europe, to Japan, and so on." And Strive Maziua from Econet was also doing something similar. So we put forces together and got a lot of wonderful business people, and every week they've been on the phone making sure that we can try to make sure that Africa doesn't get left out. And that I'm pleased to say that Oxford University, that have developed a vaccine, a batch of vaccines are coming to South Africa, which will help at least initially all the health workers in South Africa. And work is ongoing. We've also used our Virgin Atlantic 747s to bring full planes full of equipment for people in hospitals and so on in Africa. So there's a lot more work to be done, but I'm hopeful that the vaccine will turn the corner for Africa and for Europe and for the rest of the world.
And yet, even at a time like this, you just keep going and you keep trying new things. And let's talk now about Virgin Orbit and Launcher One. I mean, I've been to a rocket launch in French Guiana, and it's really something to be a part of. How is this a game changer?
So we have two space companies. We have Virgin Galactic that are putting people to space, and they will hopefully put myself to space in the next few months, and making enabling people to become astronauts. And then we have Virgin Orbit that we've been working on for about 8 years. The idea behind Virgin Orbit is that small satellites is what is connecting the world. I mean, almost definitely we are talking via a small satellite right now, and small satellites are in the low Earth orbit, and they drop out of the sky every 5 years. And if we're in the midst of having a conversation like this and our satellite drops out, we're not going to be talking. So by converting one of our Virgin Atlantic 747s and enabling it to be able to carry a giant rocket along the side of it, and then developing this giant rocket that can go into orbit and drop satellites off. It's been an 8-year adventure which came to a head a couple of weeks ago, and I must admit I had the biggest smile on my face I've had for a long time. My mum had literally died the day before, and they put a lovely message for her on the side of the rocket, so she's now going around the Earth at 18,500 miles an hour, and we put 9 satellites connecting scientists. We work with NASA on that,
we seem to have lost. Sorry, Richard. We seem to have lost each other there for a little bit. You were saying you put out 8 satellites with NASA.
There we go. One of the satellites has just dropped out. We're going to need a Virgin Orbit 747 to reconnect it. So if a satellite does drop out, then we can scramble the plane within 24 hours and replace it.
You've spoken before about the idea of enhancing life on Earth. I mean, for you, these aren't just vanity projects. Ultimately, you're doing all of this for the benefit of all mankind.
I think that life is short, and if you're in a position to be able to make a mark and make people's lives better, one should be able to do that. Virgin Orbit will be able to put up arrays of satellites, and people who are in very remote places in Africa should be able to get connected. And if you're not connected in this day and age, you're likely to fall behind people who are connected. Kids will have it more difficult getting educated and so on. So I think, if Virgin's going to launch a new business, we make sure that it is something we can be proud about, and we'll only do it if we feel it's making a positive difference. In South Africa, the Virgin Active Health Clubs, I think they made a big difference to a lot of people's lives. And
I have a card. I have a membership card.
You're looking healthy. We're obviously slightly surprised that the South African government treat all health clubs. If you're a tiny little health club, you can have 50 people in. If you're a big health club, you can only have 50 people in. So that's something we hope to get changed, so that if you've got a big health club like a Virgin Active Health Club, that it should be per 10 feet or something, that you can have a person, and not just have the same rules same rule for every club.
There seems to be a new space race, the idea of ordinary people, as you said earlier, becoming astronauts and exploring space. There's a race with other companies, Elon Musk and SpaceX, for example. Is this the way of the future?
Yeah, I mean, taking on Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos, the two wealthiest people in the world, with the deepest pockets, is perhaps unwise. But you know, we're all doing something slightly different. You know, our space line is a space line built to help people back here on Earth. You know, his life mission is to go to Mars, or not personally, but to put, you know, get to Mars, and that's a fantastic ambition, and I really wish him well on that. You know, so fortunately, we're all doing something slightly different. I think that all three companies have a very valid reason to exist. You know, they'll work with us, but they'll leave private companies to get on and innovate.
So you spoke about being part of Virgin Galactic's passenger list on that first flight. That's something you're anticipating is going to happen within a matter of months.
Yes, I've been, you know, we conceived the idea of Virgin Galactic nearly 20 years ago. It's taken about 16 years to get this far. And you know, I've always wanted to become an astronaut. I've always wanted to look back at this beautiful world and from space. And I mean, I think the environmental movement has benefited the most from that iconic picture, you know, off the moon of Earth, the beautiful blue or different blues, and I want to see it for myself. And I think there are a lot of people who'd love to have that opportunity one day. And so it's up to us to try to make it affordable for as many people as possible to go to space.
Finally, Richard, as we wrap up our conversation, I want to talk about the elders. You were part of the original group through Nelson Mandela, Graça Machel. You talk about this race for vaccines in the wealthier countries acquiring some of the largest batches of doses. What kind of leadership does the world need today when we are clearly facing so many problems that affect all of us, no matter which part of the planet you're on?
I think the kind of leadership that the elders offer, and that is a group of elderly statesmen who have put their egos behind them, who have had a tremendous success throughout their lives, and you know, who want to speak out on issues that really matter. And the elders were run by Nelson Mandela and Graça Machel, then Kofi Annan. Then Archbishop Tutu stepped in and chaired them. Then Kofi Annan, now Mary Robinson, and they're extraordinary group of people. And you know, they are fighting for the equality of vaccine. They're fighting for equality through trying to get on top of climate change. You know, they will be very brave and speak out on issues that matter. And then you know, we you know, people like yourself can then pick up on their stories and hopefully we can get change. And I mean, one thing that the elders played a very big role on was the Paris climate talks. And you know, they were there, and we were all there with business people and the elders, and were elated when every single country in the world signed up to them. The last thing we expected was for America to withdraw. And you know, obviously a wonderful moment 2 weeks ago when Joe Biden, the first piece of paper he signed was to rejoin the Paris climate talks. And now it's up to us business people and others just to get on with it and make sure that we get our houses in order. You know, if you have an airline, make sure you're flying planes that are young and using as low amount of carbon as possible. And the same should apply to all your businesses.
So Richard Branson, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate your time talking to us this afternoon.
Really nice to talk to you again, and hopefully talk to you before 2 years.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Bye.
Current events, developing stories,
Tough questions.
your voice making a difference.
This is Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.